I'm here with Mike McKone, the artist for such books like Exiles, Avengers Academy, and the 2003 Teen Titans. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Pretty good. How have you been enjoying the convention so far?
I enjoy it a lot. It's one of my favorite conventions. This is my third year at the show, and it's probably the best run, friendliest convention that I go to. So I always look forward to coming here.
I honestly have to say, Exiles is what got me into comics, so I don't know whether to thank you or blame you. So all the piles of comics I have at home, it's kind of your fault.
Okay, as I said, I can only apologize. I'm kind of happy to hear that you enjoy comics, but I'm sad that you couldn't have spent your time and effort and money more productively.
Well, I'm actually somewhat of a little bit of artist myself, so
Okay.
It's a little bit into that too.
Okay, good. I like to hear that people create, as well as just experience the comics.
What got you first interested in making comics?
Well, when I was a kid, I used to draw cartoons, Warner Brothers cartoons, Tom and Jerry, stuff like that. And then I guess when I was 5 or 6 years old, I started to read comic books. And so it wasn't too long after that I was drawing superheroes. And really, I can't remember a moment after I read my first comic that I didn't want to draw them for a living. So I never really considered doing anything else. And I can't remember a specific moment that I decided to do it. It's just always been the case.
Were there any influences to your work when you were starting to make comics?
Well, I grew up reading British reprints of American comic books. So there was a lot of Jack Kirby, Gil Kane, John Romita, people like that. And I'd say probably Kirby initially. And then when I started to be able to get my hands on American comic books, John Byrne was a huge influence on me. And I think there's a difference between an influence and people who you just like. And I think in the case of Kirby, he's probably someone I just really, really enjoyed but didn't influence my work. But John Byrne, I consciously try to draw like he did. And I still do sometimes, to be perfectly honest. If I can't figure out how to draw something myself, I'll kind of think, how would Byrne do? How would he approach this character? What's the essence of this character? So probably John Byrne is the overriding influence on me.
I've always found it interesting that the British version of the comics, that they have that out there. Do you think there's a difference growing up from those comics onto the United States ones?
Well, when I was about, I guess 14, maybe, I kind of lost interest a little bit in American comics, and I started to read a book called Warrior, a magazine called Warrior, which Alan Moore wrote a lot of stuff for, Steve Parkhouse, and Alan Davis, Gary Leach, those kind of guys were illustrating it, and it was a little more sophisticated than American comic books. The themes were a little more adult, I guess, for lack of a better word. And of course, these people came to American comics in the early 80s and became very, very influential. Alan Moore, obviously, with Swamp Thing and Watchmen. So I think there was a difference. I think American comics were kind of a little moribund in their approach. It was very traditional, moralistic fables dressed up as superhero stories. And the British people had kind of a more, I don't know if sophisticated is the right word, but a little more complex take on the human condition. Mm-hmm. Heroes weren't just heroes, they were fallible. And I responded to that as a teenager, because I realized I wasn't nearly or anywhere near as heroic as these characters in American comics. But people like Judge Dredd, who had all of the power a human could possibly need and kind of abused it in many ways. And that kind of appealed to me. I'm not sure what that says about me.
Well, I want to get into a little bit on your work in Exiles. It's what got you really noticed in comics. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite books, obviously. How was it designing all these alternate versions of these classic characters?
It was a lot of fun. It's always a lot of fun to redesign a character because most of the hard work has been done before you get there. The core of the character already exists. So it's it's kind of enjoyable just to do a little spin, just a little twist on a pre-existing character. And I was working with Judd, who had a fantastic handle on the whole concept, and so from start to finish for me, the book was a lot of fun. And I think every storyline, we changed costumes, we changed locations. They went to a different place, a different universe, a different reality. So I never got bored drawing it. That's a danger sometimes when you're drawing the same thing over and over again. So I look back on that as one of the most enjoyable jobs I was ever involved with.
Yeah, you worked on about 26 out of the 100-issue run of the original Exiles. Was there a time when you were off the book that that there was a reality or alternate character that you weren't able to tackle but you really wanted to?
Yeah, the one that springs to mind, I used to alternate story arcs with Jim Calafiore, and Jim drew a Hulk story in the book, in one of the early story arcs, and the Hulk is my favorite character, so I was very jealous that Jim got to draw that. So I'm just about to draw the Hulk in the project that I'm working on now, and it's kind of bugged me for a few years that Jim got to draw that and I didn't. So, and I still rib him about it a little bit.
It happens a lot in comic books, especially in Exiles, that characters are killed off. Mm-hmm. How does it feel that a character that you helped create, most recently in the case of Metal from Avengers Academy, where he was killed off in Avengers Arena, how does it feel to see one of the characters you helped create pretty much be killed off?
Well, I guess I would remind myself that it's comics, and there is no such thing as killing off a character permanently. They're almost certainly going to be back in one way or another, so it doesn't bother me too much. In the case of Metal, I guess I kind of like the character. He was one of my favorite characters from Avengers Academy, so I don't know. There are more important things in the world to worry about than a comic book character being killed off, so it doesn't really bother me too much.
Once you had started with Avengers Academy, you helped build that. What was it like bringing these new young characters and designing them?
It was good fun. It wasn't too difficult at all. Again, Christos had very clear ideas on who the characters were, so it didn't really seem like hard work. Some of the characters were more difficult to draw than others, but that was my fault because I designed them. So in the case of Hazmat, I remember asking Christoph to kill her off because I just had so much trouble drawing my costume over and over again, and he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it for me. He wouldn't do me that solid. But it's fun, we got it was interesting because the characters were meant to be morally ambiguous. So it was kind of a fun take on the idea of a teen superhero, teen super team, and that's what really piqued my interest in the project.
Ever since the ending of the original Exiles run after the 100 issues, it seems that the Exiles name and alternate reality jumping comics has had a bit of bad luck, never ever really going as far as Exiles did. Do you think that the average comic book reader has lost interest in alternate reality stories?
No, I don't think so. I mean, one of the biggest successes of the last 10 years were the Ultimate line of comics. They formed the basis for the Marvel Avengers movies, and that's an alternate universe comic book. So I think it's all about the presentation, really. In the case of Exiles, I don't think anyone expected it to last 100 issues. That was I certainly didn't. So no, I think if you get the right people to work on the books, then people will read it regardless of whether it's alternate universe or regular universe, whatever that is now. They're all made up stories anyway, so.
There's over like 1 million universes nowadays anyways with the numbering system in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, I think a lot of people aren't a fan of the numbering system, and I'm a bit of a physics geek, so I
Me too.
if you look at M theory, then I mean every single quark in the universe could go zig left or zag right, and create a new universe, I guess, apparently. So I don't know. It's I just want them all to come together so they can have like a big team up and I can draw it, and that would be fun. Yeah.
What were your thoughts on the Extreme X-Men one with the new alternate reality jumping team?
I haven't read it, to be honest.
Fair enough.
I mean, beyond the stuff that I did I think 4 issues of that, and it was fun, but not my favorite project to work on, if I'm honest.
And what are you working on right now? What comic books is your name attached to right now?
Right now, I'm drawing a graphic novel, an Avengers graphic novel for Marvel that should be out sometime in October, I think. And it's basically it's Warren Ellis is writing it, the great Warren Ellis, and it's a story that stretches from Thor's deep distant past through World War II to the present day. So it covers kind of Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man. And I think it's Marvel's first graphic novel in a long while, original graphic novel. And it's been a lot of fun to work on. I'm almost done with it. So it's going to be interesting to see how people take to it. Hopefully it'll reach out to people beyond comic book stores, and maybe the people who enjoyed the Thor movie and the Iron Man movie, the Avengers movie, will be able to check it out.
Well, you definitely got my attention for this. I'm going to look on it when it hits the stands for 100%, even though it's going to even continue to build my comic book collection.
Well, thankfully, hopefully. It's not too expensive, actually. It's a pretty good deal. I apologize for your habit. But
It's at least it's a fun habit.
You're not harming anyone.
Yeah. Not like drug addiction,
Well, some drugs are herbs. So
Well, thank you very much for talking with us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the con.
Oh, thank you. Thanks a lot. Cheers.